Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update regarding the tropics and the activity that is currently ongoing in the Atlantic Basin. It sticks out like a large highlighter right here in the center of the screen. Hurricane Erin, getting into a little bit more of a conducive environment for potential intensification going through about the next 24 hours. So we'll have to continue to keep an eye on this. We have storm surge warnings, tropical storm warnings, and all sorts of stuff to go through tonight. We also have two other areas of interest out here. We've got our first large wave, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. This is forecast to move off kind of in the kind of the wake of Hurricane Erin there. And then we also have Invest 99L out here in the far eastern tropical Atlantic. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look. We still have a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days for our first area known as disturbance number one. This does not have an invest tag to it. Our second area, this is the one that is Invest 99L, and as of the 2 p.m. Eastern Time update, we have a 30% chance overall. Christy, hold your thoughts about them all going out to sea. There is going to be some conditions that are marginally favorable for this one. But as the Outlook notes, and I will pull up the Outlook here on Invest 99L, towards the end of this week, this system could encounter a less favorable environment, limiting its development chances after that time. But it will still be a wave that will need to be monitored as it continues westward across the entirety of the Atlantic Basin. Okay, taking a quick look at Hurricane Erin, I've got this set to a 6 hour, no, 3 hour loop where Hurricane Erin is concerned with 1 minute frames. If you will notice, there was a little bit of dry air earlier this morning and this afternoon, and the center of circulation was located on the northwestern side of the convection. As of the last few hours and finding a little bit more of a conducive environment, we've got that outflow off to the north and to the west of the system now. Let me get back to our red here. All of this did not exist yesterday. This up here. None of this existed. And now the storm is beginning to breathe and having the outflow being able to push out. So it is entering a more conducive environment for potential intensification. It's got to cycle through some of the dry air that it was dealing with earlier, but it won't take long. It's a well-developed system that will continue to grow in size, unfortunately, over the upcoming days. So, as of the 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time advisory, we are currently at 26.6 north, 72.7 west, about 615 miles southwest of Bermuda, about 615 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Maximum sustained winds are 105 miles an hour, making it an upper end Category 2 storm. It is currently moving north-northwest or 330 degrees at 10 miles an hour, with its minimum central pressure of 958 millibars. changes with this advisory. A tropical storm watch, it has been extended northward along the U.S. Atlantic coast, north of Cape Charles Light, Virginia, to Chinocatig, Virginia. I probably butchered it. And Bermuda has now also issued a tropical storm watch. We said it last night in the live. About 24 hours from now, Bermuda would get their watch, and there they are. So, a summary of the watches. We're going to show this in graphical format, but there are tropical storm warnings, storm surge warnings, and tropical storm watches for multiple locations. We will scroll down to the hazards affecting land. This is the most important portion of the public advisory. Rainfall. Rainfall will be diminishing across the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas late this afternoon and evening. Heavy rainfall is possible on the Outer Banks of North Carolina Wednesday night into Thursday, with the potential of 1 to 2 inches. So we're not expecting a lot of rain, and I'll show you why. Wind. This is going to be, it's the wind and the surf and the surge that are going to be the big problems. We're not looking at a catastrophic rain event with this one at all. Tropical storm conditions are expected over portions of the North Carolina Outer Banks beginning late Wednesday or Wednesday night. Tropical storm conditions are possible in the watch area north of Duck, North Carolina to Cape Charles Light beginning on Thursday. Tropical storm conditions are possible in Bermuda beginning on Thursday. That's crazy. The storm is so large, it's literally hitting the U.S. and Bermuda, and it's going to be the center of circulation, not being too overly close to either location. Surf. Swells generated by Erin will affect the Bahamas, Bermuda, the east coast of the United States, and Atlantic Canada during the next several days. These rough ocean conditions are expected to cause life-threatening surf and rip currents. Please consult products from your local weather forecast office for more information. Basically put, stay out of the water. Don't get in the water this week. Don't do it. Please don't do it. The combination of dangerous storm surge and the tide will cause normally dry areas near the coast to be flooded by rising waters moving inland from the shoreline. The water could reach the following heights above ground somewhere in the indicated areas if the peak surge occurs at the time of high tide. From Cape Lookout to Duck, North Carolina, 2 to 4 feet. The deepest water will occur along the immediate coast, where the surge will be accompanied by large and dangerous waves. Let me say that again. Large and dangerous waves. There's going to be plenty of wave action out there, folks. Surge-related flooding depends on the relative timing of the surge and the tidal cycle, and can vary greatly over short distances. For information specific to your area, please see products issued by your local National Weather Service forecast office. So, we're going to look at the surge graphics here in a moment. We've already gone over pretty much the all of the key messages, though the storm surge flooding in North Carolina will likely make Highway 12 impassable in multiple locations. Do not get out and travel starting on Wednesday and working their way all throughout the day on Thursday. If you have been told to evacuate, you need to evacuate. The wave action, I would not be surprised if we have some of those homes that are built on stilts having their foundations undermined by this wave action, and we lose some structures there in the evacuation area and along the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Looking at our experimental cone here, as we could see, Bermuda under our tropical storm watch, zooming into areas here for the Outer Banks and extreme eastern portions of kind of, I guess, inland Pamlico Sound here. We are looking at a tropical storm warning. Any place in blue has or are currently under tropical storm warned conditions. For folks here up Virginia Beach, just east of Norfolk, you folks are under a tropical storm watch. We will pick this up, and even for portions of uh, this peninsula that the name of it just absolutely slipped my brain all at once. So, as we could see, the yellow shaded areas are our tropical storm watches. So, our wind field, as we could see, it is very large, it is very expansive, and it is only going to grow wider and larger. The 5 p.m. discussion. After becoming somewhat disrupted earlier today, Erin's cloud pattern has become better organized with increasing coverage and intensity of central convection. The upper tropospheric outflow is becoming better defined over the northern portion of the circulation, indicating some decrease in vertical wind shear. The advisory intensity remains at 90 knots, which is about the maximum of the various satellite based subjective and objective estimates. Another Air Force Hurricane Hunter mission is scheduled for a few hours from now to provide a good estimate of Erin's intensity. It has lifted off and it is on the way. Based on center fixes from the hurricane hunters and satellite images, Erin turned to a north-northwestward heading a few hours ago, and the initial motion estimate is now around 330 degrees at 9 knots. The system is situated in a weakness in the subtropical ridge and should turn northward along the western side of a mid-level high centered southeast of Bermuda Wednesday. Erin should turn toward the northeast as it rounds the northwestern side of the high and accelerate northeastward to east northeastward in the southern part of the mid-latitude westerlies over the northern Atlantic. Little changes were made to the track forecast from the previous advisory, and the official forecast remains close to the model consensus. Since the shear over Erin appears to have lessened and the system will continue to traverse warm waters for the next couple of days, some re-strengthening could occur. The future intensity is dependent on whether the inner core eye wall structure becomes reestablished. The official forecast conservatively shows a slight increase in intensity similar to the model consensus, but the LGEM guidance shows a little more strengthening than that. Later in the forecast period, Erin should gradually weaken over the cooler waters of the North Atlantic and lose its tropical characteristics in 4 to 5 days. And again, we have our 34 and 50 knot wind speed probability product beyond 36 hours, potentially underestimating those percentages. Our forecast intensity gets it back up to 110 miles an hour, looking at its cloud pattern, and we've got hurricane hunters obviously that will be flying into it, and when and if it does get the center of circulation within radar range of North Carolina, that'll give us just another point of view to Erin, and it's possible that this could go back to a Category 3. I mean, we're cutting hairs at this point in time. If we look at the storm surge forecast, from Duck to Cape Lookout, we have 2 to 4 feet. All of the inland bays here, 1 to 3 feet. Southern portions of kind of the inlet to Chesapeake Bay here, and back well up back into the rivers now, 1 to 3 feet of water rise. So, and this goes all the way down to South Santee River in South Carolina, where we could see this water rise. And Chincoteague, it's got to be something along those lines here up into portions of Maryland, I believe. No, that's Delaware. I'll get my states right in a minute. I knew the moment that I said that, I was like, wait a minute, that don't sound right. Our rip currents, basically what this is telling us is all of this red line All of this, stay out of the water. Just don't get in the water. It's really, really simple. You go out, you can look at it, awe at it from a distance. Don't get in that water. Our rainfall forecast, as you could see from the Weather Prediction Center over the next 72 hours or 3 days, we have not a lot of rain associated with this. Now, our earliest reasonable arrival time of winds, we do know that the forecast is calling for the most likely arrival time of winds being there on Wednesday evening. It is recommended that you have all of your loose items, secured and taken care of. That could blow around in gusty winds. By Wednesday afternoon, 2 p.m. would be, I would say, would be the safest time. Obviously, the further you go north, the little bit more time that you get. But if you could have all of those loose items, garbage cans, recycle bins, maybe some light plants that you had outside and some really light pots, just things that can blow around. Secure trampolines. We don't need those flying around. Christy. So, as we could see, though, the most likely arrival time of winds will begin on Wednesday evening and most likely occur through most of the day on Thursday. It is not recommended for the folks there in extreme eastern North Carolina. You may want to take precautions or just plan not to even travel on Thursday. As we can see with the tropical storm force wind probabilities, we are in both categories. This thing is huge. It's scraping even portions of Martha's Vineyard and getting up here towards the Cape Cod region of Massachusetts and Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. It's crazy. This thing is massive. Now, the 50 knot wind speed, this is for sustained winds. We do not see any of the percentages getting near the coast. That's for sustained winds, not gusts. Gusts are definitely going to be up there, and I've got a graphic that shows that in specific particulars. So, our forecast advisory, by the time that we get this near the closest point to North Carolina, kind of being in this range here and passing by there. So we are looking at these two columns here. And what we are noticing is that 220, 210, 200 miles, somewhere in that range, it is anticipated for the forecast or the tropical storm force wind field to be stretching out that far from the center of circulation. So, impacts of sustained tropical storm force winds are considered likely. And then when we get down, once this thing gets well out away from land, we're talking about an absolutely immense wind field that is running on the lines of 600 miles wide. And it's really going to turn up the waters of the Atlantic Basin. So checking our percentages here, we've got a 26% for sustained tropical storm force winds for Cape Hatteras. I am going to err saying that that's probably going to be a little underdone. As we could see here, only 14% of that percentage is only through the first 36 hours. We do know that it is likely underestimating things here throughout the day on Thursday. So it'll be very interesting to see exactly what this number here for Cape Hatteras and Morehead City do, and Surf City, North Carolina, do come tomorrow or later on, when this 36-hour timeline is error potentially is no longer a factor for our folks there in North Carolina. Now, this is the significant wave height, and I took off the maximum wave height because everybody's been flipping out about, oh, 100-foot waves. Yes, there is going to be one or two of these waves in and around the core of the storm that is probably going to exceed 100 feet. And there's no doubt about it, but it is going to stay real close to the core of the system. And one thing that I would like to show is even 5 days out, look at the direction of the waves. This storm is still churning up wave action. Granted, the waves are starting to go down, but the waters will still be very rough when we get into this weekend still. So, folks, be very, very careful, very cautious if going out to the water this weekend. If you're going out to the water during the week, keep yourself out of the water. And I'm trying to say that as nicely as possible. I've definitely got a much more blunt way to put that, but stay out of the water, folks. Our forecast wind speeds. Now, this is our potential wind gust. This is from the Rapid Refresh Forecast model. All right, this is going to be the model that eventually replaces the HRRR and the NAM model if everything goes correctly. Now, I'm going to run this forward, and I am going to show everybody that we're starting to get these increase in winds in about 24 hours, and this would have been from 2 o'clock this afternoon. So tomorrow afternoon, we're really starting to see those winds increase and pick up. Unfortunately, this model had a gap between hours 34 and 38, but when we get to 39, we do note that we have tropical storm force wind gusts. This is not sustained. These are gusts coming in from the north here into portions of potentially Morehead City, and gusts out here to Cape Hatteras getting into the mid 50s. Now, that only goes up for the folks there into the coastal regions in Cape Hatteras. And here I have a 68 mile an hour wind here in Cape Hatteras for one specific little gust. Like it's not sustained. It is a wind gust. And that is going to be possible that some of these rain bands and storms that could be moving through would have the tendency to bring some of those stronger winds from the lower levels of the atmosphere down to the surface. All right. And then as we get into, getting into later Thursday afternoon, headed towards Thursday evening hours, the winds will begin to subside. But for our folks up here into the kind of the Atlantic portion of, the mid-Atlantic, I guess that's what you would call it, for folks New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. We're getting these tropical storm force gusts, 41, 39 miles an hour. So it is very possible that we will see tropical storm force gusts in the tropical storm watch area. Okay, now what I have here is our forecast points for our local hourly forecast from the National Weather Service office. And I'm gonna come out here and we're gonna drop it right here on the corner of Highway 12 right here. And as you can see, we have the tropical cyclone statement, storm surge warning, high surf, beach hazards, tropical cyclone statement. I mean, there's everything. This was updated just 98 minutes ago. And what this map does is it shows us our elevation. And we note 12 feet, 7 feet, 5 feet. These areas here with a 2 to 4 foot storm surge and then large destructive waves on top of that, it is going to be very likely that there will be multiple places along this Highway 12 corridor that will become impassable. As you can see here, we do have some dunes, 27, 26, 29 feet. We do have some dune work, but there is going to be some massive waves slamming into these dunes for an extended period of time, and that is going to help erode the dunes. So, unfortunately, there will be some extreme to severe beach erosion that will take place in these areas of onshore winds. And if anybody needs any type of local forecast, just let me know and drop a zip code or an area in the chat. And if you guys would please, the team members, if you would, if there is something like that, please pin that in the chat. So, getting into our reconnaissance mission, as you can see, it has taken off. It is currently 22.3, 22.4 north, 68.6 west, and our storm itself is 26.6 and 72.7. So it's still got a little ways to go before it gets there. Our forecast models, looking here, everything is in pretty good agreement, though there is quite a bit of track spread after this turns post-tropical. As you can see, the 96 120 hour mark somewhere in this region, and then it varies from there as to exactly what it will do post-hurricane. Now, looking at some of the real-time products here, some of them are quite low, some of them are some of the older ones are a little bit higher, the recent ones are a little bit lower. The rapid intensification of 20 knot increase in 12 hours, there's a 1 in 4 chance for that, but that's an old run, that's over 3 hours old. Our opportunity for an eye wall replacement cycle is most likely no at this point. And we have not had a recent shear analysis update, but just looking at the generalized outflow of the storm, you could definitely tell that the shear has decreased over the system. A quick run into our models. If we look for our trends, they've pretty much stopped the east-west run. This is the GFS. Here is the Euro. Here is the UK Met. This one's still kind of bouncing around, but still within its parameters there of recent runs. The CMC is still trying to figure things out. The H-Wharf has pretty well stopped track motion. HMON has drifted back a little bit to the east in previous runs. The Halves A model is pretty much right on top of its previous runs. Halves B, pretty much the same. Our TC Coamps model is pretty much right on top of one another for the first 48 hours. If we get into the LGEM intensity, as it was mentioned by the National Hurricane Center, does bring it up to the Category 3 status, maybe 115, 120 mile an hour. The ship's forecast also brings it back to a Category 3 status, so do not be surprised if that occurs. The HCC consensus model is right on top of one another over and over again, run after run. So that gives very high confidence in this going to behave exactly the way that the consensus model is showing. The consensus model is also calling for this to potentially pop back up and get real close to a Category 3 status with 110, 115. The TVCN model has been right on top of itself, run after run as well. This one, although, does not show re-intensification back to a Category 3. The official forecast from the National Hurricane Center has stopped its westerly trend, has actually come back from previous runs, ticked back just a little bit to the east, and they call for a little bit of strengthening, maybe not getting it back to a Category 3, flattening and plateauing the overall intensity, and then once it gets caught into the westerlies and the shear, it will begin to slowly unwind. Now, today, I got a zip code on it. Okay, what do we got here? 28560 New Bern. Okay, coastal flood advisory through 5 p.m. on Thursday. A marginal risk of excessive rainfall if we get some rain bands coming through. Wind gusts, 22, 23 miles an hour sustained into the teens. Not much. Not much for the impact at all. I mean, it's definitely going to be a blustery, cloudy, breezy day, but it's not going to be overall impactful, too overly impactful. It's going to be very humid, very sticky. Let's see, wind speed. This is Thursday. Yeah, I don't have much on this one, brother. I don't, James. I really don't. So, yeah, if you guys got any more, just let me know. We can go anywhere with this. That's the great, this being a prototype website. Oh, this is a great, absolutely just unbelievably fantastic resource. I mean, I was so excited when I saw this that it wasn't even funny. This is very, very, very helpful and allows us to get into the streets, just everything. So very beneficial. So, all right, now we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of lean off of Erin a little bit, and now we're going to talk about our other areas of interest out here. Our disturbance number one, and Invest 99L. So we've got this run out 7 days. This is the European Ensemble Legacy No AI feature. Now, as you can see, over 7 days, we've got a couple signals here into the southwestern Atlantic. If we run this to day 8, 9, and 10, you notice we really didn't get much else. Now, I'm going to run this out into La La Land, 12, 13, 14, 15. You didn't see much, did you? Okay. That's a good sign. Now, compare that with the AI model. This is the Euro AI. So here's day 7. We've got our disturbance number 1, as you can see here, following pretty much in the footsteps of Erin. Maybe a low pressure center with a frontal boundary coming off the eastern United States here, and allowing the high pressure to remain weak as these two kind of approach each other simultaneously, one from the south, one from the west. Now, I'm going to run this forward, day 8, day 9, day 10. Now, at this point right here, we are starting to get a couple small signals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ensemble members that have gotten something, one in the Gulf, the rest either over land or here in the Western Caribbean. This is Invest 99L that we have to watch for. because it is not expected to develop early. And this area of from disturbance number one is not forecast to be like super strong to help keep the high pressure pushed back. This is going to run down on the trade winds. And then if something were to try to develop, we've got many, many days to watch this though. It's going to be somewhere in this region and or this region here. One of those three regions. Now, in all honesty, depending on the high pressure, it could also transition and jut itself out here into the Eastern Pacific. It all depends. But right now, 99L is the one that could kind of quote unquote sneak by. So comparing this all with the GEFS, and this goes out 7 days, as you can see, we have a low pressure potentially coming off the eastern United States. Our disturbance number one pulling up and lifting off in kind of the same path as everything, kind of avoiding land. Now, as I continue to run this forward, as you can see, we're out to day 10. There are one or two little ensemble members that allows this area with disturbance number one to slip a little bit further to the left. But as we continue to go, there are a couple signals down here into the Western Caribbean in about the same time frame that the Euro was calling for. So it's just, again, it is hurricane season. It is way too far out to make any particular determination, but it is just showing something that we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on Invest 99L. Even if it doesn't develop, it may completely lose its invest status and be completely taken off of the NHC outlook if it doesn't develop when meeting, hostile conditions. But we still have to watch the track of that as it continues to go across. Our look at Google DeepMind, we'll zoom in just a little bit here, kind of slide ourselves over, and we will run this forward. As you can see, there is our first disturbance. Now, the Google DeepMind, as we begin to get this into days 9 and 10, as you can see, the Google DeepMind is not too aggressive or even really, really interested in this Invest 99L as it makes it across the basin. All right, there is just a blip in time where that is concerned. 28594 28594. That's the same place, ain't it, Bubba? No. All right, hold on. I need to be smarter than that. Hee hee. All right, Emerald Isle. I want to get some elevation here. Okay, all right. We're okay. We're in the 30s, 20s, and 30s. Let's check our wind speeds. We are looking at sustained 23 with gusts 35 potentially. I would venture to say you probably get a tropical storm force gust wind. But all day through Thursday, winds pick up into the 30s here overnight on Wednesday, and then begin to decrease, getting out of the 30s maybe around 5-6 p.m. But when the sun goes down, we're really starting to taper these off, and by the time that the sun comes up and we get around to sundown on Friday evening, we go back to our variable winds at that point. Nothing even showing any kind of gusty winds. Let me scroll through here. Thursday. Yeah, 35. 35. 36% chance of precipitation. 15 to 12% chance of a thunderstorm. 20% chance of a thunderstorm. 40% chance of some rain there. What is this? Thursday. Yeah, this is Thursday from around 2 to 7 p.m. So the most impactful looks to be pretty much all day Thursday. Strong gusty winds. All right. Let's get over here to Earth Null real quick. I want to show everybody we've come up to the 250 millibar level, and this is the level approximately 6 miles above the ocean surface, and this is where the wind shear was occurring yesterday. If you guys will notice that this wind current here that was impinging on Erin has now slipped and is now missing Erin, and Erin is now able to ventilate to the north. So this is going to lead into the potential for a little bit of short-term intensification. Now, I'm going to drop this back down to the surface. We're going to put our trusty green circle here on there, and we're going to run this forward on the GFS 24 hours. Now we're going to come back up to the 500 millibar level, and as you can see, we're starting to get this into this jet streak westerly, strong wind field. Now, as I come down, back down to the 500 millibar level, this is approximately 3.5 miles above the ocean surface. You could see these strong winds really screaming off the coast, getting down into portions of potentially Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York area like that, where this wind current is above, well above the surface. As this continues to get and be drawn that way, as you can see, here is our high pressure here. This is rounding that area there and will be ejecting off into the North Atlantic. 1, 2, 3. Now we will begin to notice that we're starting to get some of the airflow from the north here that actually comes all the way around the system, and we're starting to form a boundary line where we have the northern air mass and the tropical air mass meet. So what I want to do is I want to back this up a couple frames, because if these two air masses and this right here where these two air masses collide, if this happens to occur over land or near land, there is going to be an extreme amount of rain that is going to fall in where this boundary line sets up. It is the collision of two air masses. You have the cold air coming in from the north, the warm tropical air coming in from the south. The cold air will dive up underneath the warm air, causing it to rise, causing it to lift, causing it to condense, and then you've got just an absolute ton of rain. So that is something that we're going to have to watch out for. As you can see here, that boundary level still remains offshore with the with the GFS model, and you could see that kind of like that frothy line all the way up through the atmosphere. Now when we get up to the 6 miles up, take a look. All right, this thing is going to be being sheared, and it is pretty much over and done with at this point as far as a tropical system is concerned, but it is still going to be churning up a whole bunch of water and wave activity. Now, quick look at our dust model for tonight. We will run this forward, and we will notice there goes the first wave with a swirl. And Keep in mind that this dust plume right here is also going to be associated with 99L. All right, so the dry atmosphere could very well exist. And if we look at the overall wind shear as we continue to run this forward, Euro on the left, GFS on the right, we do see 99L potentially getting into a little bit of speed shear, finding a little bit of a, potentially a tougher environment here um, as we get into the eastern portions of the Caribbean. The Euro wants to kind of pick things up and draw things out. The GFS just wants to have some variables there, but with the potential of a little bit of shear. This is the Euro and the GFS, but these graphics represent the humidity level at the 700 millibar level. So this is approximately 2 miles above the ocean surface. Browns represent our dry air, greens represent our moisture. As you can see here, the moisture associated with our disturbance number 1 seems great on the GFS. The Euro pretty much has this thing tapped out as far as its moisture is concerned. As we continue to run this forward, the GFS wants to take a little bit of this energy from that wave and drop it into the Western Caribbean. The Euro wants to keep everything very, very dry across the tropical Atlantic. And then as we continue to run this forward, we could see that there would be the potential for an increase in moisture from the GFS at 240 hours into the Caribbean. Not so much, and the Euro does not agree. The one thing that they kind of do agree on is this troughing feature, to where we keep getting reinforcing shots from the north as things continue to come down over the next 10 days. So that, with that in place, that should cause a more of a turning component with anything that were to try to develop out here into the main development region. Although that's a lot of dry air, and the moisture has been shunted quite a bit further to the south on these models as far as the mid-levels are concerned. Our nightly look at our MJO really hasn't moved over the last 24 hours compared to what we saw with yesterday's forecast. Maybe a little bit of weakening in store and collapsing with the MJO. We'll check back on that tomorrow. This afternoon, we had our new Global Tropics Hazards Outlook being issued. And as you could see, we've got areas to really, really watch. And one in particular that gets a little bit concerning. As we can see, let me get rid of this. Slide this over here to the side. Get that out of the way. This is week 2, valid from August 27th through September the 2nd. We have the potential for 20 to 39% chance of development out here into the tropical Atlantic, and potentially something here into the Eastern Pacific. We also have another 20% chance out here into portions of the Western Pacific. Getting into week 3, this is September 3rd through September the 9th, September 10th being the climatological peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. We are expecting the main development region for the potential of development, and the Western Caribbean and the Bay of Campeche. We also have a moderate risk here into the Eastern Pacific, and quite a bit of a low risk there area, 20 to 39% chance of development throughout the majority of the Eastern Pacific. And of course, couldn't be an outlook without the Western Pacific. showing the potential for some development. It's very rare do we see the Western Pacific not have something. The mainly concerned about surge and flood risk for Emerald Isle. Yes, definitely. There is a surge and flood risk for all the folks on the outer banks of the islands, guys. Tonight, there really is. And looking at this is approximate. That's probably off a little bit because we're only at 19. We're not in the middle of the 20s there somewhere. So we're somewhere in this range right here. It helps if I could put the thing straight up and down instead of slanted to the sideways. My line tonight needs a V8. But as you can see, we still have a great amount of the season left ahead of us. All right, folks, the database is available for anybody that needs it. And we are now taking a look at the eastern and central portions of the Eastern Pacific and the Central Pacific. If we come here to the National Hurricane Center, we have nothing, which is good news to report. Getting out here into the Western Pacific, we have Tropical Depression 18W and Invest 90W. Tropical Depression 17W is still inland over southern China, causing a considerable amount of rain as it is still sitting over land as a low pressure center. And our tropical depression, as you can see, is forecast to strengthen potentially a little bit on approach and then weaken as it approaches either southern Japan here or South Korea. All right, everybody, that's about all I've got unless anybody needs anything in particular or specific. I am more than happy to answer any questions that folks may have. You're very welcome, Christy. You're very welcome, Rhonda. More than happy to help. The flooding risk, the storm surge value is certainly going to be there. You've got a 2 to 4 foot risk of storm surge. I do know that you have some dunes. It's the wave action. That is going to be the big, I believe the big story of this is, yes, we are going to see a little bit of water rise with the onshore flow with the winds, no question about it. But it is the waves that are going to be on top of that. And that is the concerning part that I have for the coastal erosion. Because if something else were to approach on the backside of this, later on down in the season, say middle of September, getting into the beginning of October, something that runs up from the Caribbean and runs up the Gulf Stream, at that point, the protection is, it might not be completely compromised, but it will be impacted in a negative way. So, keeping a very close watch on that. And just looking at the spin here in this atmosphere. Hold on just 1 second. I've got to go look. All right, so Invest 99L is... All right, let's get to the now and see. There is Invest 99L. As you could see, a very tight wound 850 millibar and is starting to get a center of circulation here on the surface as well. Would not be surprised if we see the development percentages for this potentially go up here in the upcoming outlook being issued in probably an hour, maybe a little less. All right, you're welcome, Betty. Everybody, have a wonderful evening. I will be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central here on Facebook and YouTube. So if you guys got any questions, please feel free, ask away, and we'll cover what we got then, because by that time we should begin to start to see some impacts there onto the North Carolina coast tomorrow night. We'll pull out some surface observations. We'll probably pull up some buoys and get a real sense of exactly what's going on there as far as the impacts with Erin are concerned. So, have a wonderful evening, everybody. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night. Good night.